7 News at 11 starts now.
First at 11, we're following a developing story. It's the future of Major League Baseball, and the season appears to be in jeopardy tonight. The league's commissioner saying he is not confident it's going to happen. The league and the players still have not been able to reach an agreement to get the season going.
And tonight, we've learned several players and staff have tested positive for the virus. Sports Director Joe Marcino live in the newsroom now with the breaking details. Joe.
Yet another complication for Major League Baseball tonight with a report that several players and staff have tested positive for COVID-19. This on the same day, Commissioner Rob Manfred says that he's now not confident there will be a baseball season.
I'm not confident, Mike. I think there's real risk, and as long as there's no dialogue, that real risk is going to continue. The clubs are interested in one thing. The clubs are interested in finding a way back on the field, and it remains their strong preference to get back on the field with an agreement or at least the cooperation of the players.
Manfred saying that change of heart stems from a lack of dialogue with the players, who he believes are negotiating in bad faith. And while the commissioner could unilaterally impose a season in the range of 50 games, the Players Association could accuse ownership of doing the same, saying they're not making every effort to play as many games as possible. The Players Association responding with a statement tonight that reads in part, players are disgusted that Rob Manfred unequivocally told players and fans that there would 100% be a 2020 season. He has decided to go back on his word and is now threatening to cancel the entire season. Any implication that the Players Association has somehow delayed progress on the health and safety protocols is completely false. The most recent offer presented to the Players Association was this past Friday. It called for a 72-game season at 70% prorated pay, essentially the same compensation as all the other offers before it. Reporting live in the newsroom, Joe Marcino, 7 News, Night Team.
Also from the night team, a pig mask, live cockroaches, and funeral wreaths. Executives from eBay are accused of sending a series of disturbing deliveries to a couple from Natick. Those now former executives are facing federal charges, and we're learning why officials say they sent the menacing messages. 9 Team's Michael Yoshida has more.
Natick police and federal agents were able to track down the eBay executives and others involved in this intimidation scheme. We're told it started back in 2019 with a Natick couple receiving disturbing messages and deliveries.
They were enraged.
A bloody pig mask, just one of the items U.S. Attorney Andrew Lelling says several eBay executives used to intimidate a Natick couple. Monday, the U.S. Attorney announcing criminal stalking charges against 6 executives who targeted the couple for publishing an online newsletter, which sometimes criticized eBay and other e-commerce companies.
Fueled by the resources of a Fortune 500 company to emotionally and psychologically terrorize, with the goal of deterring them from writing bad things online about eBay.
The intimidation scheme used fake online accounts to send the couple threatening messages and items, including the pig mask, boxes of bugs, a book on advice on how to survive the death of a spouse, and pornography mailed to neighbors in the couple's name. Authorities say the executives also posted online invitations for singles, couples, and swingers to come to the couple's home. The U.S. Attorney says the suspects even traveled from California to the Boston area.
This allegedly included trying to break into the couple's garage so they could install a GPS on their car.
Last summer, Natick police and federal agents tracked the suspects down. eBay releasing a statement that says in part, it fired the employees and eBay does not tolerate this kind of behavior. eBay apologizes to the affected individuals and is sorry that they were subjected to this. And all 6 involved in this intimidation scheme are expected to face federal charges in Boston. Reporting in Natick, Michael Yoshida, 7 News Night Team.
Demanding justice across the country.
We are angry. When does it stop?
A Georgia family heartbroken over the death of a black man shot and killed by police over the weekend. Rashard Brooks' family speaking out today. Protesters, of course, have been demanding action for weeks now following the deadly arrest of George Floyd in Minneapolis, and this latest death sparking more calls for change. Night Team's Natalie Pozo live in our newsroom.
Kim, President Trump is expected to sign an executive order tomorrow aimed at police reform. This as Atlanta's mayor signed several orders today calling for city officials to work on changes.
Demonstrations continue now for another black man who died at the hands of police. The family of 27-year-old Rashard Brooks expressing their frustration and outrage.
We are angry. When does it stop?
I just want y'all to know that y'all took my cousin from me. Y'all took the wrong person.
Police responding to reports of a man sleeping in a Wendy's drive-thru line Friday. Body cam video shows officers speaking to Brooks for more than 20 minutes. After failing a sobriety test, one of the officers tries to arrest Brooks. That's when they say Brooks took an officer's taser and pointed it at police as he ran away. The autopsy states Brooks was shot 2 times in the back, listing the official cause of death as homicide.
The trust that we have with the police force is broken.
President Trump said today he's examined the reports about Brooks' death.
I'm not going to compare things, but I thought it was a terrible situation. I studied it closely.
The Trump administration is preparing an executive order on policing to include more money to minority communities, school choice, and better police relations.
We want law and order. This is about law and order, but it's about justice also, and it's about safety.
Atlanta's mayor is now issuing reform orders for the city's police department.
It didn't have to end that way. It didn't have to end that way. It pissed me off. It makes me sad, and I'm frustrated. And nothing I can do is going to change what happened on Friday.
Since the incident, the officer who shot Brooks has been fired. The other responding officer reassigned.
True justice will never prevail because we will never be able to bring back Rashard Brooks.
And at this time, no charges have been filed. The DA's office says they are waiting on more information from the investigation, but they are considering criminal charges. Live in the newsroom, Nathalie Pozo, 7 News Night Team.
New details now on the death of George Floyd. Audio from a 911 dispatcher was released today.
I didn't know. You can call me a snitch if you want to, but we had the cameras up for 320's call. I don't know if they had used force or not. They got something out of the back of the squad, and all of them sat on this man.
Now, the dispatcher was watching real-time video of the arrest when she became concerned and contacted her supervisor. The Minneapolis Police Department also released 2 other 911 transcripts from people who witnessed the incident. The officer who kneeled on Floyd's neck is now facing second-degree murder charges.
Now from the Night Team, a landmark ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court. The decision protects millions of LGBTQ employees across the country. Night Team's Jonathan Hall with details on that.
It's a landmark ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court based in part on this lawsuit filed by an Atlanta area man who was fired from his government program job which supported abused kids.
I'm overwhelmed with emotion and gratitude. I'm happy to celebrate this victory with the entire LGBTQ community.
By a 6-3 vote, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled the Civil Rights Act of 1964 does protect gay and transgender workers from discrimination on the job. Writing for the majority, Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote, "An employer who fires an individual merely for being gay or transgender defies the law."
They've ruled, and we live with their decision. That's what it's all about. We live with the decision of the Supreme Court. Very powerful decision, actually. But they have so ruled.
Justice Gorsuch, who wrote the opinion, was nominated by President Trump, and this is seen as a defeat for the White House because the White House opposed the extension of these protections to the LGBTQ community.
I was glad to see the Supreme Court ruling. I was also glad to see that it was 6-3.
Massachusetts has laws in place now to protect people from workplace discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity, but the Supreme Court has now added another layer of protection.
The basic thrust of the court's opinion was your performance at work should be about your performance at work, period.
Groups which defend the rights of the LGBTQ community say they do get complaints about workplace discrimination.
Surely it will happen because people will do that across the state and different states. But once it comes to the Supreme Court, it's going to be clear that it's illegal.
This sends a really strong message to employers about the fact that if somebody can do the job, they should not be fired just because of who they are.
Advocates compare this ruling to the SCOTUS decision 5 years back, which forced states to approve same-sex marriage.
This is even bigger because everybody has to be employed. Not everybody chooses to marry.
Jonathan Hall, 7 News Night Team.
Well, there's more news tonight. A rally over removal in Newton. Town officials ordering firefighters to take down a memorial flag. And protesters coming together outside of a Newton fire station in support of the symbol. My team's Kimberly Bookman has more on this flag fight.
We are outside a fire station here in Newton where you can see the only flag flying is red, white, and blue. Gathering in front of Newton Fire Station number 4, this crowd is here to pay respect to the people who protect their home sweet home. That's because on Friday they say their firefighters were stripped of a very important honor.
Someone called the mayor's office or the mayor herself and said that they were offended by the flag with the thin red line.
Hanging in the window of this last garage bay, stars and stripes in black and white with a red line across the middle. The thin red line flag symbolizing firefighters who died in the line of duty was ordered to come down by the city's mayor.
It was just upsetting that it was taken down without looking into it first.
20-year firefighter Rich Cruz doesn't know how anyone could get upset with that flag flying.
It means something to us, because of the fire department, and it has no bearing on anything else.
The mayor's office explained in a statement to 7 News, the mayor supports the values embedded in the firefighters' remembrance flag and is deeply grateful for the sacrifices made by our firefighters. This is not about this particular flag. Rather, this is about not putting the city in a position of censoring, endorsing which banners and ideas put forward by our employees will be on the sides of our buildings. Kathy Malone is one of the 200 people protesting that decision. She lost her brother, Boston Fire Lieutenant Ed Walsh, in a massive Back Bay blaze in 2014.
I think that for the fallen, my brother and Mike Kennedy and Joe Toscano and all the fellas that have passed doing what they went to work for just a normal day's work and lost their lives to protect others, we have to continue to show respect to them.
The mayor says only American flags and Newton banners can hang from city buildings. She's also asking anyone who works for the city and is wearing a mask to wear it in either solid, floral, or stripes, not to wear anything with an emblem or logo on it. In Newton, Kimberly Bookman, 7 News, 19.
Now to the coronavirus emergency, and Governor Baker says the state continues to make progress in the fight against COVID-19, which means that part 2 of phase 2 in the state's reopening plan could soon begin.
Thanks to everyone's creativity and commitment, we're reopening and effectively bringing the fight to the virus at the same time. Our progress to date is encouraging, but it doesn't mean the virus has left town. Until there's a medical breakthrough with a treatment or a vaccine, it's up to all of us to continue to do the things that we know can kill COVID.
The next step would allow indoor dining, also nail and skin care and other personal services. The timeline could be announced this week. Governor Baker, though, is concerned about recent protests and that they could lead to a spike in new cases. So he's encouraging people who took part in those large gatherings to get tested to slow the spread. More than 50 pop-up sites will be open both Wednesday and Thursday across the state, and that is for free testing. The governor is expecting about 20,000 people to take advantage of those sites.
New Hampshire's stay-at-home order expiring today. As part of the state's reopening, diners can now start eating inside restaurants once again. Also reopening are bowling alleys and libraries, and gyms are allowed to open their doors, but only at half capacity, and everyone must wear masks.
Everything's clean. You wear your masks when you're outside of your class. You disinfect your hands when you come in. You get your temperature checked. I think it's all good.
Residents in the Granite State say they're happy to be finally getting back to somewhat of normalcy.
New tonight, a 4-year-old in Shirley rushed to the hospital. Police say the little boy's mother found him in that pool this afternoon. She was able to flag down an off-duty fire chief who just happened to be driving by the house. He stopped, did first aid, and the boy was eventually flown to a Boston hospital where he is undergoing treatment tonight. The Bedford VA facility now responding to that disturbing discovery on its campus. A man's body was found in a stairwell on Friday. The 62-year-old was last seen at that facility on May 8th. The Middlesex District Attorney's Office is now investigating, and the company which operates the facility releasing a statement which reads in part, the stairwell where the deceased man was found was outside the lease premises of Caritas Communities, is alarmed and solely controlled by the VA. Caritas Communities and the Bedford VA are cooperating fully with the investigation.
Up next, we're keeping our eyes on the weather, and it's shaping to be another beautiful day tomorrow. JR.
That it is. Temps today, 60s and 70s, making a run close to 90 by the end of the week.
And a family that wanted to head to the Cape from out of state had their plans canceled because of the pandemic. Their refund for their rental refused, so they decided to call Solid 7.